All right, welcome back. Another episode of Shift Happens, and we are, well, obviously together with Preston and joined again with Ben Bowman. You guys maybe saw the earlier episode with Ben in it, but if not, you missed out. So, Ben, for anybody seeing this, just want to give a little bit of background on yourself and some of your philosophies. And that is what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, when you have no preparation for an opening on a podcast.
Right. My philosophy is like how long do we have? We'll get into the
Yeah.
philosophies
Yeah, we'll get into
pretty
philosophy.
soon
Just
about
just about you.
different or ideas of like doing things different. A lot aligns with what you guys are doing with Sonic and how you're looking at revenue. Again, Ben Bowman, I'm the owner of StrataShield AI. Owned an AI business probably about a year before I should have owned an AI business, honestly, but it's helped me catch up and actually be ahead of the curve when it comes to the industry and how everyone's looking at it. So even though the first year was a little slow, now it's where it needs to be. I've been in technology for 25 plus years, either from an engineering capacity. I've ran an IT department, IT team, and then even from a sales and sales engineering aspect as well. So yeah, it's fun to finally have the tool of AI. Think of the stuff I could have done back in the early 2000s with AI, like some of the systems I wrote and some of the things I did, and how much faster it would have been, and how much more I could have accomplished had I had the AI tools at my fingertips like I have now. So it's an exciting time. I think it can be a frustrating time, but overall, a lot of excitement.
It's crazy to think about how much time you spent doing the things that you probably do now in hours took you.
Yeah, yeah, I mean the fact of what I can cram into a day is, I mean, 3 days work. I think you guys see that sometimes where some of the stuff I've done, and you guys are like, how are you getting
It's
that
like
done already with
it's
everything else you're
available.
doing?
Yeah.
It's just understanding how to manipulate and use AI with the correct way, right? Meaning that it does take a lot of my involvement, but a lot of my understanding of how to manipulate and get AI to do what it does, and then have teams, that help me out as well, that have even more expansive capabilities with both development and AI as well.
Well, I think there's no, I mean, full transparency, right? We all work together. We're launching Sonic AI together.
Yep.
And I think we can touch on that more in future episodes, but it's been pretty awesome from our perspective, watching how, we've been able to use AI to help solve for problems that, naturally would come in, right? And I think the question that or something that you bring up often as we work together, you're always like, hey, start asking yourself the question, can we automate that? Right? Like, hey, this manual work, can it be automated? And so it's been fun in the sense of like, I think, historically you look at, the way things have been done.
Hmm.
And I got to imagine, I got to liken it something to like when computers actually started to get implemented and people still use notepads. And it's like, hey,
Yep.
no, save that digitally,
Yeah.
and now AI is kind of taking that automation to the next level because the turnaround's high or a little bit faster. I read an article where somebody said they were able to program in one weekend what would have taken a team of 10 a year to do.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think and if you're using AI, I mean, every development team should be using AI with human oversight, right? But yeah, I mean, that it should be driving development costs down. I can guarantee you that if you're paying right now what you used to pay a year ago for development cost, you're overpaying. Like the model that I run, you guys have seen that firsthand, right? The model that I run is insane from a price and ROI perspective because we're using AI, so we're getting things done like a 3 6 month project that is taking us 4 to 8 weeks to do now, right? And the other thing is showing active results and valid results on a weekly basis, where before in development the idea was you'd have to wait days and weeks to be able to even have a type of to see any kind of like progress. But now on a weekly basis on any project, we can show extreme and valid progress throughout it. So that's 100% absolutely true. And then going back on your automation standpoint, or conversation you're having earlier, point you're making, it's still like it's something. I go into environments and I and I think my even my patience is starting to grow thin. Like when I see an Excel spreadsheet, I lose my mind now. Like the things that are happening with that kind, like with Excel and like all these things that could be digitized, automated, and just put into a better format and a more effective format using AI. And that's just a small example. And the reason why is because we can so easily connect into systems where before it was a little bit more difficult, but now with API access to get into systems, we can get into any system, automate, pull data, and display data in a very simple way. So even things like that kind of stuff where we spend all this time jumping back and forth between those kind of mediums of spreadsheets and whatnot, it might take an hour to just update that into a digital environment that can be easily updated, across the board. So yeah, I mean, the room for automation and just ease of use is it's there. And here's the other thing too, and I think you guys saw this as well. And I was actually on a call a little earlier today with another customer, and when you see it, it sparks creativity. I guess that's the best way I can say it is once you see the automations and you see the implementation of whether it's a platform that's customized to your business or it's a special project that you've been wanting that's been in the way. Once they see that one in work, it's just something, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Like there's actually, I mean, maybe 10 to 100 projects with every company that if you automated, it could equal hundreds or thousands. The one project that I was talking about earlier is saving 2,000 hours a year for the customer, and it's an easy ROI to calculate, right?
It's insane. It's insane. And I know I think the big gap like most companies are going to figure out is like how to automate. I think we're learning that lesson through like working together, but like how much automation's possible as opposed to before, it's this like, well, that's going to take forever or whatever, right? Like
Hmm.
that's a heavy lift where now it's not quite the same. It's like I don't know. I could give a million analogies. It's like the
Yeah, well,
invention of the forklift as
absolutely.
opposed to a seven-man carry.
Right, the automation, and this is also a nature of bad AI development, especially at the beginning, or people trying to automate in a way that wasn't possible and taking on projects that they maybe the AI wasn't caught up at that time. But there is a lot of hesitation with the automation. I think a lot of times because people have heard of other companies that have experienced like companies coming in saying that we're going to automate, we're going to do this, and then they don't see results and yeah, that causes a lot of hesitation in the market. So, but if you get the right people, right, and you actually see it in work, and you have that trust, the trust factor built with it, it actually is an amazing thing. But I will say there is some hesitation from a functionality standpoint, making sure you have the right person to be able to do it, and also someone who understands business processes. And I think that's a differentiator that I always say that I bring to the table. It's because it's something I'm focused on. Is I'm not just automating the data for data's sake. I'm automating the data for business sake, and I understand I try to really understand every department from layer one all the way up to the executive layer. Uh, I try to understand all those processes, the business, the people, the processes, so that the automations align with how things operate within the business.
Yeah, I was gonna actually, I wanted to bring that up and kind of see how you feel your degree, your focus on psychology has
Hmm.
like impacted the type of tech stack that or AI implementation you build for different partners. Like for us, for example, what impact that's had for us.
But yeah, this is going to be a spicy one because
Yeah, it's
I know.
it's changed a lot with my degree, and it's interesting as I got my bachelor's in psychology. That was a lot of clinical stuff, and then I put some sports and medical psychology into it, and then I decided I really saw the flow of AI and just this idea of like, wow, look at how this is impacting the dynamic of cultures within the business. So I decided to get a master's degree in corporate psychology or IO or organizational psychology, and that has it's definitely changed my mindset a lot. It's affected it in a lot of ways. I mean, all the way from how people receive AI, right? There's a psychology of like, hey, is AI going to take our job? There's people who are stressed about losing their job to AI or AI taking over the world. So from a mental health aspect, there are impacts with it. But then from the executive layer, that it's not like, is AI going to take my job? The executives are thinking, if I don't implement AI, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to fall behind? Am I going to be the next blockbuster? And so there's this dynamic between AI and corporate, like, and corporate decision making that is, and even mental health and everything, that is a huge conversation to be had. And then it's also helped me understanding the difference between, and I talk a lot about team dynamics and personal dynamics, and how people operate, how teams operate, how different people within the organization operate at different layers of the organization. And so now when like, I've always had this people, processes, and technology in that order mentality, but this has helped me really formulate that idea of what that actually means, and what the people mean, and what their different roles and the different personas mean. And it's helped me even improve my UX ideas as far as the user experience within the applications I write, and also the functionality, to be able to really understand those dynamics and cater to them.
Yeah, and it's funny that the psychological impact, just having something visual that you created, like even from the smallest piece of what you built, right? Just having them be able to view something as simple as their daily sales or commission build up. But I agree with what you said at the beginning, how it's frustrating to see Excel or um, Google Sheets still being utilized as a form of reporting that information, and even mid-sized enterprise levels are still utilizing them.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know that's a good way to build,
We have customers that utilize
types of
them.
data.
Yeah.
Right.
You
It's
come into customer environments, they're there, but the because I think this will make for a healthy debate. And I wanted to, I think, kind of spark the idea was, we've had some good internal dialogue. I mean, some of the best conversations that I think all of us have are
mhm,
not recorded, but
right.
one in
Yeah.
particular, because um, what is it? It kind of stemmed from like activity metrics versus outcome metrics, right? And
Yeah.
so you had kind of got in through like the psychology of it, and I think we're still, Sonic CX, by no means are we saying, hey, we've got it all figured out to every extent, but we are trying to challenge the traditional way of thinking. But
Hmm.
you make some points that I think cause healthy debate around activity metrics and kind of your philosophy on that. And so I think bring it on, bro.
Yeah,
Let's go.
it's a fun it's a fun conversation. I know we've had some healthy debates, and we've gone kind of circles and then back and forth with it. And I think overall we're both saying the same thing at different. Very often it's the same thing, but in different perspectives. So
Yeah.
the outcome is very important at the executive layer, right? And that's something that I've learned, like how again, and I think we learned that in business, just not in psychology, right? How executives view things compared to how a director might view things, or how an employee might view things. But if you're talking about the people that you're coaching and the people you're leading from a day-to-day aspect, the ones who are in the weeds of every day, the outcome you can't coach off of. And I'll give you an example. So let's say an outcome could be 10 sales a week. Like, give me an example how you'd coach off of 10 sales a week, telling a rep of how to hit 10 sales a week.
You want me to give you an
Yeah, give
example? I
me,
mean,
yeah.
you're giving
What
me a
would you say?
very well. I would rather go specifically to customer service because I think sales metrics,
Okay.
but we could do this,
Oh,
right? I'm not gonna
fuck
back out
just
of
kidding.
this.
Yeah,
But
that
like,
seemed like a very
no, no,
like.
no, 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 no.
Okay,
I'm
so
I'm I'm ready
but
to go.
we'll get into customer service, but let's start with sales. So from a sales metric, how would you coach that outcome?
Well, so when you look at KPIs within sales, they're
Hmm.
focused. They're naturally focused as a revenue engine. So all the inputs directly correlate to revenue outputs, and it is so like sales itself can be run under a ton of different methodologies that I think have proven to work time and time again.
Sure.
Really, where the reason I say customer service becomes this the core of the conversation, because sales historically has always been looked at as a revenue engine, right? So the activities and the inputs, like, right, laws of averages. I'm a firm believer in the laws of
Hmm.
averages, and like, hey, if you follow this playbook, you'll produce X result,
Right.
right? And so tracking things that like are historically tracked, like, you could say calls per hour if you're running an outbound campaign, win rate, connect rate, understanding all those different dynamics, but really saying, hey, the ultimate key to success is following these behaviors. And so like KPIs are naturally key revenue indicators inside of sales.
Yep.
Where I start to challenge this philosophy is the way that as soon as you obtain a customer, they automatically become an expense line item, right? And companies start to view a customer through the lens of how cheaply can we support them, and just
Hmm.
outright neglect the revenue that sits inside of the customer service channel, and they go under
Sure.
an operational expense. But I could really get into like how to coach a team of 10 sales agents. I think when we go into depth to KPIs and like talking about key revenue indicators versus KPIs,
Hmm.
I think you're right. So, and I know I've been talking or ranting long here that at an executive level, they measure outcomes.
Yeah.
But when it comes specifically into customer service, the executives are measuring outcomes the laziest way possible, which is how much did it cost us to accomplish XYZ goal, and what does our EBITDA look like? What's our
Hmm.
gross revenue versus net revenue or net income? And the answer always becomes automate. We'll just automate that, right? Like let's get
Yeah.
our costs down. But I don't know. I may have danced
No,
around.
so here's the thing is I think we're very close to the same thing, but yet at the end of the day, when again the executives looking at outcomes, but what makes those outcomes happen, and how do you get to them? And so like starting at sales, right? You like just to back to this point, and then I'll get into customer service because I think it's one and the same. I don't think it matters whether it's customer service or sales. Is you have an outcome obviously you want to hit. That's total sales and profitability, right? And they look at EBITDA, but let's just say at the end of the day, if you don't have a total number of sales, you can't get there. And then you can look at conversion, right? But again, you can't coach off conversion because you can't say, hey, go convert more. It doesn't mean anything. There's not. I mean, maybe you could dial in your calls. You could help them with some coaching with stuff like that. But and like you could listen to calls. We have a call analyzer, right? That I wrote that analyzes the call and helps with that. But it's still a hard thing to convert off of. But what you can with sales always do is you can always track effort and overall effort. In my what I've usually seen is effort usually equals sales, right? So like the number of dials, their efficiency on the phone. Are they on the phone taking calls, and are they showing up for work? And it's almost like that simple, right? Those three things. Now, there are people who, even with the effort, still aren't getting it. And that could be a coaching issue and something like that to help them with that. But those three things, if I look across the board and go look at your numbers now and look at the top performers and look at the performers who are struggling, the ones who aren't hitting the number, I'd say 90% of them aren't hitting the effort that's being
Yeah.
asked of them. Okay.
Not putting in the
So
consent.
that's kind of the right thing. Now let's take this to customer service, and let's say customer service is looking at, okay, like automation and EBITDA and all that. But we know, and Justin, you and I had a conversation, Preston, you may have been on this, but that it costs more to get a new customer than it does to keep an existing customer. And I think we've all heard that. So the cost, so there's a couple things you're looking at customer service. One is keeping a customer. And the other one is upselling a customer to get more revenue out of them. So they come in billing $100 a month, and great, you do want to keep them because now you lose that. That is going to be a $100 loss. You lose 10 of those customers, that's a $1,000 a month loss, right? But now you take that and you start spreading this gap between loss and margin and win. That's where it gets really important in customer service. So now you start getting, okay, that's $100, and now they're billing $110. $115, $130, $200, right? And so those are those two things. But when you look at the main metric in customer service is that I always hear is call handle time. How quick are you getting on and off the call with the customer? And we hear this, and this is actually a really good and personal like tie-in for a lot of us. We hear this we experience this ourselves with doctors because we go into a medical office right now and that's what they're being handled like basically told is like it's your patient handle time. You need to get in and get out. And how do we feel when most of the time I have some good doctors, but how do we feel most of the time? We feel neglected. We feel like they're not listening. We feel like we're being rushed out and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, it's a pain in the butt to find a new doctor, but in most cases, if I could find a new doctor, I would. Now, customer service is the same thing. Is if we're just looking at call handle time and we're rushing them and rushing them out, and we're losing a customer, I'd rather see someone take an extra 10 minutes on the call with the customer, upselling the customer, and also preventing any kind of like, and we use that word ownership. I think we've all talked about that word ownership, and taking ownership of every single call they have to both prevent a loss and to increase income. And then, of course, compensation drives behavior. So then driving your customer service team to able to be compensated on uplift and things like that, and maybe even compensated and bonus off of lack of churn off of calls that they make. There's some kind of a dicey area, but you can probably carve that out a bit. But at the end of the day, when you're coaching the customer service team, you're coaching them off of what that metric, what that activity is to be able to obtain the outcome. And that's across the board. And even if you look at like hear Nick Saban speak, the coach of Alabama, like one of the most successful coaches in college football, he talks about that with his players, like coaching off of the activity and what they need to do to prepare for the game, not the outcome. Because you can't coach up guys, go win the game. Come
Go
on,
in.
win the
Yeah.
game. It doesn't mean anything. But hey, if we block, we tackle, accurate passing, we read right, all the things that go into a football game, the activity is what gets you the win. And if you take care of the activity, most of the time it's going to take care of the win. So
Yeah,
now
I'm gonna let,
that was my rant.
Preston, I don't know if there's any, I could keep going, but I don't.
No, I mean I agree. It's actually funny. The Ben, you literally quoted what my LinkedIn post, not word for word, but that was my LinkedIn post from earlier.
Well, if I would have said Preston instead of Nick Saban, if I would have, yeah.
In every
He most of both.
scenario. But
I missed
no,
that.
but
I
I
missed
do
Preston Fuller
agree.
said.
Right, right. A lot of the times, like in some of the enterprise, BPOs, contact centers, they want agents to rush through them, right? And the goal is, like, let's say, spend an extra 2 to 3 minutes resolving an issue, generate a lifetime revenue and lifetime value, one call resolution, set up auto pay, prevent collections, whatever it may be, rather than rushing through 20 calls and looking at it just as service and getting to the next so you can keep a low hold time. Now, if your hold time is your problem, then hold time needs to be addressed separately, not rushing through the calls as quickly as you possibly can. So,
Yeah, I think you even need to look at the product, but I would even
yeah,
go. I would go. See, so let's stick with Nick Saban here,
Okay.
because the perfect opportunity for me to disagree. Nick Saban's working with effort. Let's go to your historic contact center. You're not getting 4-star recruits coming in that are trying to be masters of their craft.
Yeah.
And so you can give activity metrics. Instead, what you're doing is you're hiring cheap labor, and your activities are all centered around what's labeled efficiency. How efficient can we be? Because it's lazy math to track how much revenue comes out of this channel. So like a college football coach telling people to master the activities of their given position, which, a good 50+% have aspirations to go to the pros. And there's probably a subset within the college environment that knows that this is their ceiling, and that's fine. And maybe not, I don't know. I was never a college athlete, but
I may look like one, but I'm
I'm serious, man. Like, if you take this down to the contact center level, I think there is a fundamental problem with. I think it's laziness to simply bring employees in and track things like average handle time, first call resolution, which anybody that's worked in a contact center knows that stat can easily be manipulated. You know, and instead, like, I think you really need to change the scoreboard, and customer service leaders need to be challenged in the way that they approach this, because we call activity success. How many companies run a customer service department and hit every activity metric, but the P&L shows loss? We're bleeding revenue, we're losing, and the outcome that they come up with is, let's ship this somewhere else that's cheaper. Let's blame the BPO who came in and followed our playbook to the T, or let's automate it. Let's automate the broken shit because it's cheaper. AI will never call in sick.
Well, we should automate some of the broken shit. I agree with that. But also we're also talking about the same thing, that it's finding the right performance metrics to measure off of, right? Like, yeah, if you measure off a call handle time, that's not right. That's not the performance metric that you want to measure off of. But I'm also gonna challenge you too. I don't care if it's a football player whose aspirations played in the NFL, or it's someone who's a call center employee who's not like, who doesn't have a lot of motivation or everything like that. That just goes into leadership and issues with call center leadership. I mean, I'll say that most of my worst experiences back when I was getting started were call center leadership. I mean, they were horrible. They weren't building the culture. And you guys hear me talk a lot about culture, and I know it's important to you because that's what you're building as culture, is we are trying to micromanage call center employees instead of motivating. And here's a, so you've got like Herzberg's, he has a motivational factor, and Vroom has motivational factors as well. But Herzberg talks about some different factors, but one of them is money. And most people think money is a motivational factor, and it's not. Like, money is a thing that we use to survive and live off of. But we dangle this carrot of money in front of people like, hey, go do this and you're going to get money. Well, I've got to survive to get money anyways. That's not motivation. Motivation, even for a call center employee, is to be able to get them to be able to be excited to be working for me, to be
Purpose.
excited to be calling, to be on board calling, because the money will happen naturally, right? And that's just a cause effect thing that they have to do to survive in their life. Now, we've also realized that different call center employees have a different amount of money they need to make, especially in sales, which means effort does vary off of where that money does where they make that money. But if you can get into that extra motivational factor of them being excited, like real stuff, right? Of them being excited about working for a company, them being excited about the culture, them wanting to walk through fire with you. Now you're getting them to be able to hit the activity metrics. But if you are, again, to your point, Justin, if you're looking at the wrong activity metrics, then you're not going to be motivating. You're not, it doesn't matter about motivation because you're not doing the right things. But if you can get the outcome for that we need as an executive layer, and then you can tie it to the activity that they need to do to achieve that outcome, it will fall into place. But I agree, like call time, all that stuff, it's garbage. It doesn't move the needle. Like we
I'm
got
gonna
Yeah.
I what popped into the perfect analogy, and I at no point want to say call center agents are lazy. I for sure don't think that. I think that generally call centers, there's very few people that just stick in them and see them through. Like, they tend to be kind of like a stopping point in your career.
yeah.
Like Preston, myself, we've all had headsets on. We've all taken the calls. We've walked a mile in their shoes. But I think the way that traditional call centers are run today, to stay on the Nick Saban stuff, is it is like playing a game of football with absolutely no scoreboard. To
Right.
live the life in the agent, you don't know, like, we're not defining what a win looks like. Like, you put your headset down, and you come back tomorrow, and you truly do not feel the purpose or the impact that you have the way that metrics are measured today. We don't label a win. Labeling a win on, like, hey, congratulations, Justin, you took more calls than everybody today. And I convinced them to take a survey at the end that says they're willing to refer our business to a customer, but never actually do refer a customer. Like, it's sports without a scoreboard, and to get to your point, that then creates a lack of purpose, right? Money, if you have money, if you're making money and you have purpose, that's not a job
Yeah.
anymore.
You're excited to come in. Well, and now maybe you got me thinking about where this actual metric lies, because we're thinking of metrics from a dial standpoint, from a standpoint of like a standpoint of being dispositions, hold time, all this stuff. And these are like physical metrics. But what if the metric that we're looking at is really on the conversation metric? That's still blocking and tackling on a call, is what was said on the call. And now we do have the ability to be able to analyze those and measure metrics that before were really intangible metrics that you couldn't really tell. I mean, you could listen to 1,000 calls, but now we've seen, like with the AI call analyzer that we developed, that we can now go in and listen not listen, it'll automatically listen and provide valuable constructive feedback on what was said. And so maybe on that metric is what you're measuring on is like, did you hit point A, point B? When the customer says this, was this said? You missed this opportunity to save the call. You missed this opportunity to do this by what was said. Because I mean, you still don't want someone over talking on the phone, right? There still is value to old school metrics in some senses to be able to look at, but those are looked at as a last resort once you're trying to really fine tune a couple things. But yeah, maybe we're looking at more of the at the personal level of the call, and what the agent is interacting with the call than all those metrics around it.
It's funny because when I sit back and I've listened to the two of you, it sounds like a debate. Like, listen to me. 100% are pretty much both saying the same thing. Like you said at the
Yeah.
beginning, can't remember which one you said it, but
No, I think
100% say the same thing
and
and
to
have
your
different
point,
perspectives on it for
but
sure.
I think this conversation, because we have like Preston, I don't know how many times you and I,
Yeah,
like all three of us have had the
for
conversations
sure.
around how do we articulate this concept,
Yeah.
right? Like I know it's really easy to look at some of the things that maybe I post online that look like, oh, he's just talking shit, right? Like what Amanda Quinn said, in the notes, like from what
Uh,
self-proclaimed shit talker.
yeah. Self-proclaimed shit talker.
And but it takes this kind of dialogue to really to make this
Yeah,
idea
I
like
agree.
take form. But yeah,
Well, it causes curiosity. It causes innovation, especially with people as smart as you two. Like I said before, you two are two of the smartest people I know. 100% glad that Ben. I mean, you've done major things with the team from a psychological standpoint, uh, to the business in general with technological side of things, and I'm excited about the Sonic, um, you know,
pulse,
pulse.
pulse.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So I appreciate that, Preston. I think one of the things too, Preston, you like Justin said, we've all had a headset on. We've all dialed.
Yeah,
We've all
for
made calls.
sure.
We've all picked up calls. We've all handled customer service in our own way. I know, and I think back, this was 20 years ago when, maybe 14, 20 years ago when I was doing all that, maybe 15 years, I don't know, a long time ago when I was doing like anything with call center, like that kind of dialing. But I always just remember, and even throughout my corporate experience, I'm always just like, there has to be a better way. Like,
Yeah,
not there has to be. And now, like, I see there is a better way. It's not there has to be. I know it, but you don't have visibility into the big picture things that sometimes everyone has. And then you grow in your career and you start seeing more and more visibility. And then it starts validating like this isn't right. The way that businesses are operating, especially with the technology that's available right now, it's not it's not right, and it's easily repairable and fixable. That's the craziest thing is that people think to fix a culture takes a lot. It doesn't take a lot to fix a culture. It just takes the right person and the right team to fix the culture. And in a call center environment, the cultures are inherently broken
oh,
in the
for
call
sure.
center environment. And I think that stems from honestly a lot of the leadership in the environment that doesn't know how to motivate and get things out of their team, but they only know how to crack the whip, right? That's what they know. It's like I got to crack the whip, I got to dangle a carrot, I got to do this. Like once we can get them out of that, it changes. It completely changes the dynamic of our employee behavior. Not for everyone. You can't. I'm not saying that you're going to like over. You're not going to win over everyone, but it changes. But yeah, a lot of what my philosophy has came from bad experiences, that I've gone through,
Yeah,
and
I think we can all say I've
Mhm.
thought back to some of the leaders I've had in the past, some that I've learned from, some that I've loved, and some that I've absolutely loathed, and
Yeah.
just don't have the idea or willingness to change. Somebody actually posted on Reddit the other day, a couple of Reddit pages that I created, and we'll throw those out another time and talk about them. But they said that they mentioned supervisors specifically, but supervisors are one of the biggest driving culture or biggest drivers to a negative culture. And it's true, but it also needs to be in some aspects at the executive or above level, above the supervisor to executive level, to visualize what their culture should be and notice those types of things and do what they can to try and make changes or hire the right people to do so.
Well,
You're approaching things individually, and I think that's making a impact to the culture
yeah.
from learning to finding out how everybody learns differently. likes to be recognized differently. Everybody's pushed to differently. We have agents that don't like public recognition or to be called out in a
Mhm.
competitive manner publicly. They like it privately, and others thrive off of it.
Yeah.
It's a fine balancing act
Middle
for
management is the worst, especially in call centers, dude.
it's
And
tough.
it
I
comes
agree with what Preston's saying there in the
100%.
sense that
100.
shit rolls downhill.
Yeah,
So middle management is the worst, and that's because that next layer of management doesn't know how to coach their middle managers off of culture. And here, actually, here's the easiest thing. The number one thing two things I did when I came into the environment, right, is I set expectations and I provided visibility. So
yeah,
you
for
can't set
sure.
expectations and then not provide visibility for if someone's performing or not exceeding those expectations. Because then when you go to talk to them, there's excuses. But if you
Yeah.
provide day to day, which everyone can see,
Real
what the
time.
expectations
Yeah,
are, and you've set those expectations, and it's like, hey, you're not hitting them. There's a motivational factor with that too, as far as the motivating it. But if it's just a lack of accountability overall with the executive layer, just saying, well, you see the middle management getting fired, and then middle managers are firing the employees and all that, and it's just this, and that's another thing that causes churn of employment, right? Because now you're losing those employees. Well, if everyone would just take ownership of the culture, and if you're micromanaging as a middle manager, then you shouldn't be there. If you're micromanaging as a not, there's coaching, right? You always coach, and I don't agree with just fire people, but there's coaching. If you're micromanaging from the top layer, then you probably shouldn't. You probably are hurting the team, right? So it's just, I agree. Like it's just the shit rolls downhill. And unfortunately, who gets the shit and why are they so pissed off and why are they angry? It's the people on the phone who are doing it day to day, who are getting beat up by customers. They're having to bust their ass to make a sell and make a dollar. They're getting cancellations that aren't their fault. And then they're being beat up by their manager who is offering them no help on how to be successful, right? This is, you hear the passion come out in me with this because that absolutely, yeah, it just drives me, it drives me insane to see this.
yeah, for
You know
sure.
why? I'll tell you why it happens. And you're using the word culture, and you're like, and I agree with all of this, but the outcomes do not, the activity does not equal the outcome in
Yep.
95% of organizations across the world. They want the activities do not equate to the executive outcome. And middle management
100%.
gets the pressure from the executive team to hit the executive outcome while pressuring the team to hit the activity outcome, and nobody's happy. And even if you're a great manager and your team's hitting every activity metric, I've seen companies be acquired with layoffs occur, or they've done nothing wrong. They're phenomenal leaders. They've hit every activity metric, but the business
Mhm.
failed.
I,
And I just wanted to throw that in there
No, I
because
love this because you're 100% right. The activity metric matters. If we're not measuring the right activities, now here's the next challenge is that the activity is different for every company. Not every company, but most companies. Is we go into this approach and it's a cookie cutter approach. I see it in technology, I've seen it in AI, and it's horrible. It succeeds for 20% of the people because they fit into that cookie cutter culture. And then the other, 80% of people don't fit into that. And it's the same thing with these activities is we're going in with the cookie cutter mindset that we have off of our legacy mindset and our old mindset of how activities are supposed to be tracked. And we go into every environment and we do the same thing. Well, you could go from environment A into, let's say, an inside sales environment, into environment B, an outside sales environment, or environment A, a certain type of customer service environment, into another different type of customer service environment. And those activities are different. So I think what we really need to do is look at the data, find out what is the activity driving the metrics, the outcomes that we want, and then start pushing off those activities. But if we continue to go in with a cookie cutter approach with every single company, whether it's technology, whether it's call centers or whatever it is, we're going to be 20% successful because they'll fit into that layer. But if we can, and it goes into like a management theory, which is situational management, right? Where you manage situationally off of the, right? It's self-explanatory, off the situation, right? It's the same thing with metrics, like situational metrics. Like you can't sit there and say company A is the same as company B and what moves the needle. Now, there are things that across the board will, but you have to look at every single environment you speak to within a call center, BPO, call center, whatever it is, as its own unique individual.
100%. That's why you have competition, and some companies elevate and others don't. And like culture does matter, but I think the dialogue, and we don't have to like beat the drum too hard on this, but like what I have a firm belief in like activity metrics are the exact reason call centers continue to fail. And it's, we can label it activity metrics you're never going to get away from, because no matter what you're measuring, you're doing some sort of activity to create the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's time to like break the way we're labeling it today and expecting for things to get better. And I think what will happen with AI in particular is companies will automate what they think is success, and they'll actually pour gasoline on their company and set it on fire
Yeah, I can see
by
that.
by optimizing things that they thought they currently label as success. And it does take people to come in with a critical eye
Mm-hmm.
and start to measure like what are those motions. But I don't know. I know this is some good shit, right?
I
Like
mean,
I
even
be able to walk away and my brain will not stop thinking about this.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking
Sorry, go ahead,
because,
Russ.
like, Ben, as BPO, right? I think they have one of the biggest challenges, right? Contact center in general, let's just say a specific fintech, they can set their boundaries, what they need, what they want. They can even reorganize to what KRIs or the methodology behind key revenue indicators. Revenue lives inside of every call. And they get rid of standard KPI scoreboards. But at BPO, partnering with two, three, 10 different companies, they're following different metrics and have to find ways that they stay innovative and lead the charge instead of follow. How do you see us continuing to build tech to tailor to every company's
Well,
needs?
yeah, well, and that's the beauty of what we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, right? Is that AI now enables us to do that. You can build customized technology within your environment, and as a BPO, you can build customized technology per customer. And then that leads to that cookie cutter statement as well, right? If you treat everyone like every customer as a cookie cutter in the same systems, in the same everything, you'll have success, but not if you can customize it directly to that. But what we have now, and the age we live in now, is an age where we can easily and affordably customize every single environment and interaction within that environment to cater to how that business environment operates. So I think the answer is just going back to the beginning. Is like, look, it's possible. You have to see it to believe it. I know that it's weird to say, but I've seen it. So, unfortunately, that's the way it is. Sometimes you have to see it, but once you see it, if you can see it at low risk, meaning you're not spending $50,000 at risk to see it, but maybe you're spending $2,000 or $5,000 at risk to see it, and then you see it, then it makes sense. But the customization of every environment needs to start being considered. We can't approach it from a technology standpoint or from a BPO standpoint or business standpoint to just do one central thing that works for everyone
It needs to be a true partnership between the BPO and the companies they're working with.
and the customer. Yeah.
Yeah, and the
My
customer.
favorite thing about AI companies in the contact center, and I'm gonna just talk a little bit of shit here, and hopefully this gets like clipped up and I can throw it out there. But my favorite thing about the AI companies that preach in contact center in particular, they have the most archaic systems to get a hold of them. Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
this form fill. Hey, we'll have an SDR reach out to you, followed by an AE, and it's frictionless customer experience. Like, what? Wait, what, bro? What?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not seeing it. Anyway, that just popped in my head. I was over here doing a chat, so I kind of
Yeah.
missed part of the.
A lot of it's a big issue with I mean, the biggest issue, there's a lot of companies who weren't AI companies who are now trying to be AI companies. And it's funny. Have you seen the Homer Simpson meme where he goes into the bush, like, and then he's a different,
Yeah,
when he comes out,
the
he's a different
spears.
thing. It's the same thing with all these companies, like, and it was about beginning of last year, so 2025. It's just like all of a sudden you saw all these companies that are doing the exact same thing, and now they're AI. Now they're doing AI. A lot of the companies were already using machine learning and AI for over a decade, especially the cybersecurity companies. Nothing was changing. It's just now they're an AI company. Everyone is this AI, that AI, and the problem is if you're trying to fit AI into archaic systems instead of starting from scratch and to like doing it from the beginning, it rarely works perfectly. It has a lot of problems, and that's exactly what you're talking about is
Yeah, it's
these guys
hilarious.
just trying, hey, we're AI, but we don't really, I guess you could call it eat our own dog food. And that's one thing, yeah, I think we can, I know I can stand on, I know you guys can stand on now, is that you guys and we eat our own dog food, right? Like we're not just out selling something or talking about something that we want everyone else to do that, but we use different systems. That's it's the belief because we see it and the impact it's made. I mean, I'm working on the ROI, not the ROI, but the hockey stick effect of once we implemented these systems from a sales standpoint, even from a cancellation standpoint, right? For sales, the hockey stick for sales goes up and the cancellations goes down. It's like it's the reverse. Usually sales goes up and cancellations go up. We've actually seen sales go up with cancellations going down. So yeah, it's lining all this, but getting definitely it's starting. You can implement some AI into existing systems, but really it's better if you build the system built for AI.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering how the old guard, right? The legacy company, the giants, I won't say the names, but some of the largest like BPOs or contact centers are going to transition into a AI first company like I keep reading about. That's going to be what tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars spent in build out.
Millions, millions,
Millions.
million,
They'll
tens of
never.
I
millions.
mean, depending on what
They
they're
call it
building,
digital transformation.
Yeah.
and
Like it's
I
more
feel like
like
it'll never end.
figuring shit out in real time.
Yeah.
And it's going to be funny because I'll call this right now. I will call this, and I would bet a significant amount of money on what's going to happen in the next 3 years. Let's call it. You are going to see a mass roll up in the contact center industry, and I think particularly with the old guard, they're going to find individual companies that are doing things different and exceptionally well. And
Mm-hmm.
rather than because they're so stuck in this activity equals success, they have no, all you have to do when you look at the big players in the BPO space, they don't even hide the fact they don't care. Look at their quarterly earning report. They have
Mm-hmm.
no metric inside a quarterly earning report if they're a publicly traded BPO company that specifically states what they did for their customers.
Right.
Everything's about cost reduction and income. And then
Yeah.
they release articles around digital transformation. Next 3 years, you will see a roll up occur. This happened in the direct to consumer tech support space. Anybody that's in that knows exactly what I'm talking about, where companies will start to get acquired and somebody
Mm-hmm.
will grow through acquisition. But that's what the old guard will do is they're looking to identify who's disrupting, who's getting it right. Let's buy them and then implement the systems. And if there's companies that are bold enough to say no, screw you, the old guard will become the blockbuster of.
Well, and even if they buy the systems, I've already seen this in the telecom industry. Like the old guard comes in and buys a new technology, and then they try to make it them instead of keeping what made that technology special, which is the people, and they butcher it. So it's the old guard. I still don't. I think it's not that they won't be around just because of name and longevity, but
Yeah.
the old guard, I don't think they're ever going to figure it out. I think they'll buy some companies, but most of them are going to destroy what they buy by trying
100%.
to put it into their culture, which is a horrible culture.
Yeah, they're going to try
And
and implement that into their culture. And if I remember correctly, on our first podcast with you, you mentioned them going for what 5 year plus contracts and how that's just impossible due to the advancements and changes that are coming.
for AI, the 5+ year contract's an interesting one, just because there's going to be so many changes. I always like a clause as far as change and modification with anything. If you're going to go that long, I definitely don't have any 5-year contracts going right now.
Yeah,
It just everything's going to change so much, and we're not even stabilized on everything. I still say that in 5 years I'm going to be one of the most successful, like have one of the most successful businesses ever because of AI, or I'm going to be out of business because of AI. And that's not a scary thing to me because that doesn't mean that there's not going to be relevance for all the other, it doesn't mean that AI is going to replace everyone's job.
Yeah.
It's just the ease of coding and everything else is becoming so much easier, but there still is a human element and creativity element that makes that special. But yeah, I don't, every day I wake up, or even I go into a certain AI model and I try something I couldn't do yesterday and it starts working today. There's going to be some significant changes. And then we've got if the Anthropic and OpenAI and Google and all these different Meta and all these different LLMs, if they really start going after the business space, as they should, because right now they have business applications that are back-end applications that I use, right, to develop and do everything. But if they ever decide to open up a business division that specifically goes in and puts AI into the business, they they would kill it just because of what they're able to do already from a large language model perspective. It would just be it would be insane. I'm hoping they keep leaving it up to the developers and the innovators to be able to take their technology and put it into a business. But yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty
How
with it.
how do they structure the contracts without the hand or the partnership without the contract handcuff? Then I
The
guess
what do you mean, like the 5 year or the?
yeah. So
I think most times they're just month to month now.
Yeah, I like
Like
most
are
things
they?
are month to month or quarterly or things like you can't. There are people who are taking 3 and 5 year contracts. I just recommend against it. So there's month to month, there's quarterly, there's still yearly type of contracts. I don't. I want to like walk away from a yearly contract, but I just I've always been big about contract language and making sure that it's customer friendly and making sure that it's performance
And by the
based.
way, I just have to. I can't sit on this because you said the old guard will be around. I say wrong. And that and you might be successful. I say wrong. You will be. We will be. And I think it goes simply down to you can call it effort. It's mission driven.
Yeah.
It's like mission critical and good luck to the big companies keeping up with individuals like ourselves. And we're not the messiahs here. I'm not saying, hey, we've got it all figured out, but we're nimble. It doesn't require a committee and approval process of 50 peoples with the budgeting committee to go out and execute.
Yeah.
We can have a conversation and in the same day, and AI is moving at such a clip that if you're not operating as quickly as AI evolves and you want to catch up, and it's like turning the Titanic and then you would literally have to fundamentally change the way that these enterprise level organizations operate in order for them to keep up with the mission oriented, mission critical. Like I like good luck. We're
Yeah,
gonna we're gonna
I
kick
get
ass.
that.
And
I mean, the
this
old
isn't
guard.
false bravado here. Bravado. I'm like serious. We're gonna kick ass.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. We're going to kick ass. I think that even that big concern is a minor concern because I see how much human element needs to be used to even be successful with that and how much understanding of business processes and everything and people that it takes. But, and I think with the BPO and what we're talking about within that and the call center BPO industry, yeah, the old guard's going to kind of go out of the way. I just think of someone like Pac Bell, like I go back to the telecom and the old guard, even though they're not great, they're never going away. I mean, they're a utility company. It's like your gas
Oh, yeah,
company.
yeah. No,
It's just
I'm talking
like
about
a
BP. I'm talking about
yeah,
contact center old guard, not
yeah.
not
And I was talking about
everybody.
AI old guard,
Yeah,
basically.
like
Like
not
those
talking
guys,
about.
they're not going anywhere. They're going to continue to just try to make a buck, but they're not going to do it well.
I'm curious in a lot of these companies, like in Justin, and Ben, you know what I'm referring to, specific contractors. Some of these companies that have built scaled too quickly with their product and are not potentially proficient at contact centers themselves, if they're going to try and implement AI to
Yeah,
overcome those hurdles and fail.
it could. So yeah, there and definitely there's still an internal gap, right? So I work with a lot of companies that have internal development teams, but they don't have enough time to keep up on everything they're doing, plus the new innovation with AI. But look, the idea of sales and support, customer support, is this. if you want to call it ebb and flow back and forth, is something we've experienced like forever, like since I've been in the business forever, is where sales suddenly starts outperforming support. And then what happens is support has to rush to catch up with sales, but then support overscales. And now there's people sitting around not doing anything. So now they're being inefficient because they're just sitting around and not doing anything. And then sales gets pressured. And so then sales goes, and now they're outperforming support. And then support is falling on its butt because it's, and some of it is technology related. Some of it is people related, right? You can't automate everything. Yeah, it's people related. But yeah, we've seen that back and forth there. I think there is ways for AI to, and this is where I kick back about the automation. It's automate the right things, and I think you'd agree, Justin. That's
Yeah,
what you're saying.
I think
It's
so.
don't it's not don't automate. It's automate the right things that make the difference. Is yeah, I think there's a lot of companies, if they put some better automation into it, it could definitely help. There's like AI support agents nowadays, like virtual agents that talk. There, you can't tell the difference between some of them and a real person. And if they're answering just repetitive questions, not in-depth questions, they can take a load off of the customer service to be able to answer like do the hard things, right? Like do the hard things that take a human to do. But yeah, it's always been that's always been a problem.
Yeah, speaking of, go to sonicCX.com. Look at
Bella.
Bella.
Yeah, and I
Voice AI.
honestly, because I've and I could get real crazy with this, but when I look at Chat GPT, I don't know that there's going to be any need for an AI agent, a voice agent. AI voice agent, I think will be a short window in time because if I can go and talk to a company the same way I talk to Chat GPT or Gemini or the myriad of tools out there, like why would I call in? I could it literally be like texting and I'm having a natural conversation and it's connecting to my account. And then when it hits the human experience, it's something where you want it's more high touch,
Yeah,
more
there'll always
Right,
be those
right.
consumers, right,
But
that want
that's
that
made.
human touch.
I
Yeah,
just think the voice agent will be a very short-lived
well,
product.
so here's the, no, I agree, but I don't say short-lived. And the way I look at it is picking up your phone compared to texting. If you look now, if someone calls me, I'm like, you better be dying, right? Like if a personal friend calls me, like I'm like, you better be dying. Like
Yeah,
don't
we
call.
broke down
You hate me
last
then.
I
option.
disagree with that, but
Like
like I would just text me, right? Like I don't need to jump on a call with everyone. Obviously, I jump on calls with family and everything, so I'm not that harsh. But now if you think about it, we really text more than we call, where we used to always call and don't text. Now, generationally, I think that is going to start happening as the younger generation starts getting into business and starts like growing, and even maybe our generation. But I still think that'll be about 20 years. And then there's also this feeling of the human, like speaking to somebody that makes you feel warm and fuzzy.
the
Maybe eventually
real
that will go
agent,
away.
real agent. Now, but like I
Doesn't
think
have to
about
be a
this,
real
I'll
agent. It just
correct
has to
I'll
be a good
correct my
AI.
previous statement because I have conversations with Chat GPT, and I guess that is a voice agent
Yeah,
that's responding back. So
that's all the voice agent is. It's just go. It's putting voice.
Virtual
It's
person.
the large
Yeah.
language model speaking, or it's the language model speaking and doing stuff. So that's really
like
all
that
the voice
movie,
agent is.
her, what is it, where he falls in love with the robot voice?
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah,
creepy.
I'm falling in love with Chat GPT.
I was actually thinking this kind of,
Did you set a voice on it?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I like to
And his is a
brainstorm.
guy's voice.
It's
So,
easier for me to talk to AI if I'm really trying to like brainstorm something because
yeah.
my ideas will flow naturally. Like even with typing, like there's the spaces, there's the formatting. I'll see I misspelled something, and so naturally it breaks my thought process. So I'd rather talk to the AI and let it like do its thing if I'm brainstorming. Just like
I'm
Preston, I
a
don't
typer.
know if you've
I'm a typer.
continued to
Yeah.
do
I
that.
hate it. You
I've
guys are.
started to do it.
I'm a typer. I've got to type it out. Now I'm to the point where I don't even care, and it's actually caused me issues with texting and messaging because I don't even care about how I spell it. I just keep going, and the AI will figure it out. I even get done typing stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what I just typed, and the AI will still know what I meant somehow. So I'm a huge typer. I don't like picking up and talking into it. Like my creativity comes through typing, not through talking.
Yeah, I
So
don't
I'm
do
very
voice to
different.
text. I
Yeah, my
can't.
best stuff comes from talking. But I don't know if you guys have noticed that like I rarely text and I call a lot.
Yeah,
I
you
think
do
like
call more often
it's
than
like,
text.
oh,
I think I
again?
talk to you like 5 times a day.
No,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying in personal stuff. Like with business, you have to talk, right? Like if you just do
Yeah,
everything over text and messaging, it doesn't work. You have to talk. But with but if I think about like friends, I'm not saying I don't talk to any friends, but I definitely text friends throughout the day. But
Is
how
a
many do
phone
I?
call like a kind is the kind to like showing up and knocking on the door
Yeah,
now?
well, that it is
It's
nowadays. Yeah, it's the same
like when
thing.
we're
Like just showing
kids.
up uninvited. But
Yeah.
like
I
I'm not
still
even
sometimes
dressed.
text people, friends, and I'll be like, "Hey, can I give you a call real quick?" Like I ask permission to call before I just like burden you with a
I'm
phone
that
call.
guy is what you're telling me that
That
I'm the
is
guy that
true.
like knocks on the door. Hey, can Preston come
That's
out and play?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
true.
whoa,
I'll
yeah,
respond. I'm
just
like, dude, I want an
yeah.
interview. You
that
know?
shit's
Yeah, you
hilarious.
should reach out to your friends and family and just really ask them, like, "Are you okay with me?"
I might be offending a lot of people and I'm unaware. I'm oblivious to it. I know. I think what else do we want to touch on? Because I know we wanted to touch a little bit on culture and then the analytics. Obviously, talked about AI. Is there
I think we
any
did.
other
I think we
things that
touched on a lot. I mean, I was actually curious because I mean, I don't know a lot about the back ends of OpenAI, and
Hmm.
but if those companies were to go, because I think about the times when enterprise level contact centers they have those tech issues, mass tech issues, right? And if it's an AI led industry, down the line, and something goes wrong with the source, how are they going to how is that just as effective? Is it quicker to fix that type of a thing?
Yeah, there's some AI already that fixes stuff. I mean, definitely within
AI to
network,
fix AI.
but that's been a while, right? Like the autonomous network, that's just creating more autonomy where the AI will go in and fix it on the fly as stuff happens. There is coding that can happen. What's going to happen is when I don't know if we're going to be AGI, but maybe a higher version of AI that we're going to it's going to be more proactive, which is kind of scary, like a proactive AI. But I look for the point where I can tell my AI to figure something out and leave in the morning, like leave and come back in the morning and have it like a whole, like everything
It's
coded
already
with creativity. That being said, I'd probably come back and have used like $20,000 in credits, like while I was figuring stuff out. So I'd have to dial that in. But yeah, I think that's definitely happening now, and definitely in call centers. That I think that's happening, especially a lot with telephony and
yeah.
routing and circuitry and things like that that do go into the call center, like SIP, the trunking and everything like that that goes into call centers. Then yeah, a lot of that is AI, or at least a machine learning type of capability.
Because if
it's
it's done
interesting.
at the large scale level, and there's 4 or 5 different companies using that, I mean, it wouldn't be open AI. I would imagine in those cases.
I
No,
wonder
because
if
that's not a
AI.
language model. That's a little different than a language model,
Yeah,
right? So that's yeah.
Random thought though. I just wonder if AI credits will become a form of cryptocurrency
I
at one
I
point
was
in time
just
because they could
thinking something
inflate
like
all these
that.
credits. I mean, yeah,
Well,
just a
I
thought.
thought AI
I'm
credits would
gonna
be going down, but I've definitely seen in coding that AI credits are creeping up because they're seeing the
Yeah,
value as
Yeah, you're
they,
gonna have to
and
see
rightfully
somebody
so.
make $1 million that bought, a million credits at
And sold them.
$10, and then 10 years from now it'll be $1 per AI credit.
That would be
Because as
funny.
AI gets more proficient and it can do more with less, the cost per credit naturally would go up, would it not?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Like, I'm just saying. Boom, groundbreaking thought here. Let's tighten up our portfolio.
Yeah. Let's do it.
yeah.
Just buy some AI credits. But cool. I don't know if we've got anything else. I know um freaking it's going to be a badass year.
Yeah.
I
Like
agree.
we've got, I think with Sonic Pulse, I think we'll probably all get together and show that. It'd be cool to demo that in video format.
Yeah.
But
I think we should
Yeah,
have the demo ready probably 2 weeks. Yeah.
yeah, cool. And then we'll mess around with it. That one's going to be it's badass.
when did you know you wanted to go into tech? Early on in high
So
school, or
no, it's the funny. I grew up on a farm. I never really had a My dad had an IBM, I guess, that I never used or anything like that. But I just wanted to make money, and I was working as a waiter at Denny's. And I read this article about Microsoft certified systems engineers and how they were making like a lot of money. And so I signed up for the classes to get my certification. And I was horrible at it because it was a lot of like reading and everything like that. I was horrible, like horrible. Like I failed my first like 3 tests. I'm like, I can't take tests. I'm horrible. And then I had a friend who's like, hey, come in and build some computers, just get some experience. And then I learned like how good I am hands on. And it changed everything because I think very differently, like hands on, than
Yeah.
I do from reading through and like schooling and all that kind of stuff. Like I failed my ACT test. I didn't get a good enough ACT score to go to college like that. Like they wouldn't
Yeah,
even
I'm the
accept me.
same way.
So I just don't do good with that. And then all of a sudden I figured out, oh, I like hands on though. I had this different mind than I ever thought I had, which then always interested me in psychology with neurodiversity and how people think that I like have some things that I think are unique that are because of that. And so, but yeah, anyhow, I decided to go into it and just it just kept working and just I kept being good at it.
Nice. I did something similar, taking Microsoft courses, and I did that during college, and I failed. I failed at it miserably, and that for me right there was the end of my
Yeah.
But
I just had the drive to make money, and I thought that
my
was the clearest
crazy.
path. So I just kept pushing through, and the way I passed my Microsoft my when I got my MCSE, the Certified Systems Engineer, is I bought some practice tests that were supposed to be really close to the test, and I memorized 600 questions so I could my memory is great, right? So I memorized 600 questions and answers to those questions. And then that's how I passed. And I had to do that with like, I think it was like 5 or 6 different tests. I just went through and memorized every single question and answer and form and took it over and over, repetition. But yeah, but now I mean, I can get into systems. I could get into servers. I learned like coding, all that stuff. It just picked up once I started doing it. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting, it never was something I thought I would do for sure.
well, you're good at it, dude.
Oh
You're
yeah,
good at it.
I'm way good at it.
So,
Well, I guess with that being said, in 2026, is there anything that big outside of what we've already talked about or what we know that you have coming up or are excited for?
what's your 2026 resolution, bro?
Yeah, I mean, just continue the momentum, like it's been fun working with you guys. I like that now that we're starting to collaborate on this idea of Sonic AI, which I know was an idea before I came along. It was like this idea, but I think some of the systems that I came in and built and the processes I built put even more of a vision under that. So I'm excited to start building that. And yeah, I mean, it's been fun. A lot of times you go into the new year and things start slowing down, and I feel like this going now into my third year of business that I have more customers, more momentum, more projects. It's definitely keeping me busy than what I've ever had. And now to build something within the call center space, which also is a passion of mine because of my past experience, and the BPO space is just absolutely exciting. So I think it's going to be exciting what we do because the culture idea that you guys have come up with and then implementing it within the systems idea and culture idea that I have, it just really melds very nicely together.
For sure.
So I think in the next year, like if we have the same conversation next January 8th, 2027, it's going to be a fun conversation. It's going to be even a more fun and more even focused conversation than what we're having now.
Absolutely.
I think
I'm
we
hoping
should do
those.
that next year. Let's
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
we'll have clips of this and be like, how did that age?
Yeah.
How did that go? Like,
Reframe.
yeah, yeah, that didn't. But cool. All right, yeah. I don't know if we need to keep going. If you want to close us out,
I don't think we're good. I'd just say appreciate everyone for giving us the support we've gotten from LinkedIn, private messages, emails in 2025, and we look forward to everything that's to come in 2026. One thing I will say is we're going to put out an 800 number for those you know agents that are frustrated. Look for that. Speaking of earlier in the show, I was going to mention, but have
I
a great
can't wait to see what we do on
2026.
that. Cool. All right, guys.
Good chatting. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
And